Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. We are at the end of April, and as always, this is going to be the weekly astro forecast for the week of April 25th through May 1st. So get comfortable because it's going to be kind of a long one, but it's going to be a good one. So let's get the introductions out of the way. It's your girl, Mel, your favorite astrologer of Divine Feminine Works. And as always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. This channel is everything tarot, astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. And speaking of content, head over to Instagram and hit that follow button. I've got loads of excellent daily content. Plus, I go live every Thursday night at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time for live readings by sign. All right, so I've got you covered on all fronts, on all angles. So hit that follow button, tap in, and you will be all set. All right, so happy Sunday, Patricia. How are you? All right. So this is going to be, like I said before, the weekly astro forecast for April 25th through May 1st. And this is one of the pivotal weeks of the month, perhaps of the next couple of months, because we start retrograde season and we start eclipse season. So the week starts out kind of slow, not much going on, but by the end of the week, we've got a whole bunch of energy shifts, whole bunch of new energy coming in. So it's definitely going to be an interesting week. All right. And just a reminder, I do these lives every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is really just like the astro weather forecast for the week, right? So if you want to know more about what the week has in store for you in terms of your rising sign and your sun sign, sign up for my newsletter where I email a weekly guide every week that details the astrology for the week, plus what you can expect for your particular sign, all right? And you'll find the link for that in the description box below, all right? So I guess without further ado, let's get into the week and see what we've got. All right, so we start out the week with the moon in Pisces. So things are going to get pretty emotional, pretty emotionally intense. A lot of spiritual messages, a lot of dreams. Your intuition is going to be lit. So it's a very we start the week on a very emotional kind of note, and not necessarily in a bad way, just sort of, just emotional. A lot of feelings, a lot of intuition, perhaps, spiritual advancement, all that stuff. We still do have a stellium in Pisces. We've got Venus, Jupiter, Neptune, and Mars currently in there. And when you have more than 3 planets in a particular sign, it's called a stellium. And then the moon is going to be joining all of these planets as well. So there's going to be a lot of Pisces energy. We've been experiencing this for the last couple of weeks. Particularly with Jupiter conjunct Neptune. This week, Venus is going to conjunct Neptune in Pisces. So again, a lot of Pisces energy. So you're going to want to check where Pisces is in your chart, because that's where you're going to be having a lot of focus. That's the area of your life that's going to be highlighted at this time. So again, check your natal chart. And if you don't know where to find your natal chart, if you're not familiar with your natal chart, you're going to want to go to a site like astro.com. You're going to put in your birth time, date, and location. It'll generate a natal chart for you, and you'll be able to, follow along with what I'm saying and understand everything that's going on. All right. So again, that's Moon in Pisces on Monday. Nothing really going on Tuesday, although I always feel like I have to mention this, because just because there's no active transits on a particular day doesn't mean that literally nothing is going on. A lot of these energies are fluid. So something that's going on Monday may last for a week. It may last for a couple of days. So that energy is still sort of affecting us, and it's still available to us. So basically on Tuesday, there's just no direct aspects or transits going on, but so we're still feeling some of the effects from last week. Okay. So again, that sort of goes without saying that just because nothing's going on doesn't mean that nothing's going on. All right. So then on Wednesday, we have Mercury sextile Jupiter, which is a very positive aspect. We've also got Venus conjunct Neptune, like I was saying before, in the sign of Pisces. So again, a lot of Pisces energy, lots of emotions. And then the moon makes its way into Aries. All right. Thereafter, on Thursday, we've got Mercury trine Pluto. Again, a very positive aspect. And then Friday and Saturday are sort of the big ticket days of the week, because on Friday, we've got Mercury moving into its home sign of Gemini, followed by Pluto going retrograde, which kicks off retrograde season for the year. And then we have the moon making its way into Taurus, which is going to be important because the very next day on Saturday, we have a solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus. That's a new moon solar eclipse. So it's all about new beginnings. That's like the star of the show for the week. And then we have Venus conjunct Jupiter again in Pisces, which is also a very positive and fortuitous aspect. All right. Then we close out the week and begin next week on a positive note with Venus sextile Pluto. So as you can see, a lot going on, but by and large, it's actually going to be a really positive week. In terms of what we can accomplish, again, with that Pisces stellium and a lot of that Pisces energy, a lot of us can make strides in terms of our spiritual evolution, in terms of our emotional well-being. We also have Pluto in the mix, and Pluto, even though it's retrograde, well, it's going to be retrograde by the end of the week. Pluto is going to be making some harmonious aspects to Mercury and Venus, which is going to allow us to use our thoughts and our communication in a very transformative way. It's also going to allow us to transform our money and transform our relationships. So it's a very transformative week. It's a very, again, positive week where we can make a lot of strides and do some positive things. So by and large, it's going to be pretty good. All right. So before we get started, I just want to mention that, astrology can be very precise, right? I'm using words such as conjunction and sextile, and there's all these like little symbols. And if you're new to astrology, this can definitely be really confusing, right? So in an effort to sort of demystify everything going on in astrology, I've created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which gives you all the basic information that you need to start learning astrology. So it basically details the planets, the houses, the signs, and the aspects. And it's an 11-page document that really just gives you the quick and dirty on the astrology basics so you can get to studying and you can sort of understand what's going on, because obviously a lot of people are into astrology these days. A lot of information is being circulated on social media in terms of astrology. There's sun sign, moon sign, rising sign, so much going on. And if you feel like you're sort of lost in translation, this cheat sheet will definitely help you get you started. All right. So the link to that is in the description box below. So definitely download that and get your astrology life in order. All right. So let's take a little glance at the, not a glance, but let's really talk about what is going on this week in sort of a broad picture. All right. So first off, we have the moon is going to be in the waning crescent phase. And this is important because we're making our way to a new moon solar eclipse on Saturday. So beginning now and for this week, it's like the moon is decreasing in size and the light of the moon is decreasing in size. And it signifies us sort of releasing, relinquishing, surrendering, getting rid of the things that we don't need, because the new moon is all about planting new seeds. And if you've got a whole bunch of gunk and garbage lying around, it's going to be really hard for you to plant those seeds. You may not even have space to do so. So when the moon is in the waning phase, between the full moon and the new moon, it's time for us to release things. All right. The way I love explaining this is like with apples, right? Since apple signifies abundance and, apples are pretty symbolic in terms of spirituality. So it's something that everyone can really relate to. So the new moon is when you have an apple seed, and that is when you plant that seed. You put it in the ground and you intend for it to grow into an apple, right? And between the new moon and the full moon, it's called the waxing phase of the moon. That's when the moon is waxing. And so it grows in illumination. The light gets brighter, okay? And that would be the time that you tend to that seed. That's when you water it. You may turn over the soil if necessary. You give it enough sunlight. So at the full moon, you have a ripe apple that's ready to pick, that's ready to eat, that's ready to enjoy, okay? Now from the full moon to the new moon is known as the waning phase, and that's when the moon decreases in illumination. So the full moon, you have the apple, right? So during the waning phase, that's when you are enjoying the apple. So you eat it. You may make apple pie. You make apple cider. You actually use the apple, right? And as you use it, it sort of decreases in size. If you eat it, it goes from a full apple to an apple core, right? Whatever you're doing with the apple to enjoy it, maybe you're even sharing it with other people. At some point, you're going to be left with like leftovers, right? An apple core, some apple seeds, maybe some apple skin if you've skinned the apple. And all of those things, you need to get rid of them, right? Some of those things, particularly the apple skin, you can use as compost, right? So you use that to till the soil so that you can replant. But regardless, I think I'm sort of overanalyzing this analogy, but you get the point. From the waning phase is when you use the apple, you discard of the core, and then you collect the seeds that you can plant again at the new moon, okay? And so that's currently where we are emotionally. We're getting rid of the things that we don't need and making space for us to plant new things at the new moon, particularly at this new moon, the solar eclipse. I'm going to get into that in a second because you're not necessarily going to want to do anything at the solar eclipse. But again, I'll explain that in a little bit. But regardless, this week is going to be a time of reflection, of surrender, of things breaking down so you can make room for new intentions. All right. And so we started Pisces. And so Pisces is really getting us to discard of the emotional baggage we may have and really sort of surrender to the unknown, have faith, and sort of really tap into our spirituality in order to have this new beginning that is imminent, right? Then the moon is going to move into Aries, and that's when we're going to be motivated to start new things. So when the moon gets into Aries, it's really going to get us amped to have this new beginning. I feel like many of us are going to be looking toward the future, and many of us are going to start to feel the excitement in terms of the solar eclipse. You may even start to see things related to the solar eclipse start to pop up into your life because Aries is all about starting something new, okay? But regardless, our emotions are going to be really amped. We're going to be passionate about having this new beginning. And then when the moon moves into Taurus, that is when we're going to see this new beginning. That's when we're going to experience it, particularly in terms of money and love, because Taurus is ruled by Venus and Venus governs love and money. And that's why I titled this particular video Total Eclipse of the Heart and Wallet, because we're going to have the opportunity to have a new beginning in love, in relationships, in money, in finances, and resources. Okay, so that's pretty much how the moon is making us feel this week. All right. The next thing that's really important, and it's not the most important thing of the week, but it's something to be really cognizant of. Mercury is going to be at the anaretic degree. And what this means is that Mercury is going to be at the 29th degree of Taurus. Anytime a planet is at the 29th degree of a sign, it's like the boiling point. It's when the energy of that planet is usually very potent and it's expressed very outwardly. So if we're talking about Mercury, we're talking about communication, we're talking about ideas, we're talking about socializing. And if we're talking about Taurus, this is sort of having ideas related to stability, related to security, okay? And so now would definitely be the time, excuse me, particularly like a day on Thursday, right before Mercury goes into its home sign of Gemini on Friday. That's going to be the day where you're going to want to take the time to really think about things, particularly things related to money or assets. So if you have been slacking on like getting a financial plan together, trying to organize your money, trying to organize your paperwork, particularly as it relates to money and assets, you're going to want to take the time to do that on Thursday because Mercury is going to be at the 29th degree of Taurus, the anaretic degree, and Mercury is really going to help you do these things, okay? That same day, Mercury is also going to be trine to Pluto, and I'll get to that when I get into the week. But essentially, that day, you're going to understand why you're doing the things that you're doing, and your mental powers are going to be so powerful and so potent that it's like everything's just going to click together in terms of what to do, how to plan for the future. And again, because Mercury is going to be in Taurus, this is going to be about money, about resources, about things that are tangible to us. Okay, so you're going to want to do that on Thursday because that is going to be the optimal time to do those things. All right. Then on Friday, we've got Pluto going retrograde, and this is kicking off retrograde season for 2022. Pluto retrograde is one of those retrogrades that lasts for a while. It lasts for 6 months, so it's going to begin on the 29th, and it's going to end on October 8th. Now, Pluto is the farthest planet in the solar system, so its energy isn't necessarily personal to us, meaning that we feel Pluto's energy on more of a societal level, okay? So it's not going to affect us personally, although it can if we're talking about retrograde. So anytime so tongue-tied today. Anytime a planet is retrograde, the energy of that planet is directed inward as opposed to outward. And being that Pluto is the planet of transformation, this is when we're thinking about and experiencing transformation on a very subconscious and internal level. Now, again, this may not really affect you personally. And if it does, it's going to be so subtle. It's not necessarily going to be something that you really take notice of. Again, this is something that's going to happen on a societal level. But if it does, it's a wonderful opportunity to sort of change the way you think, change the story you've been telling yourself. It's a really good time for inner reflection. And this particular Pluto retrograde season is going to be pretty positive. And at the beginning of Pluto retrograde on the 29th, it's sort of surrounded by all of this positive energy. So any changes that you undergo during this Pluto retrograde are likely to be very positive, okay? And not just that, the way I think about Pluto retrograde is sort of things coming back to life, because Pluto also represents death, okay? And when Pluto is retrograde, it's sort of a time of rebirth, particularly on an internal level. So sometimes during Pluto retrograde, you may find that things that have died in the past are reborn, are regained, are sort of sprung back to life. And given the fact that this Pluto retrograde is going to be overwhelmingly positive, I feel like something that you may have wanted, something that, died out in your life that you really wanted or that was overwhelmingly positive in your life is going to be coming back up to life. It's like life after death in a very positive sort of way. So I feel like over the next 6 months, really pay attention to things that you used to do, things that you used to have, ways that you used to feel, particularly good feelings, maybe coming back around for another go round. Okay. So I feel like it can be really good times in terms of personal transformation. And again, things being reborn that you really like or that are really good for you. Okay. And then finally, we have the solar eclipse in Taurus, which is going down on Saturday. This is also going to be pretty positively aspected, okay? So we've got Venus conjunct Jupiter that same day. We've got Uranus in the mix, so it's about expecting the unexpected. But solar eclipses are, at the new moon phase, okay? And eclipses are like solar eclipses are like new moons on steroids. It's the universe's way of shifting things around in our lives. So typically everyone, especially nowadays, is really into doing new moon rituals, full moon rituals. Typically people will tell you, or, based on folklore, you definitely don't want to do any sort of rituals at an eclipse because it's really powerful. Unless you know how to harness the energy safely and harness it in a way that's very beneficial to you, you usually want to sit out on rituals during eclipses because the energy can be very erratic and extremely powerful. So with the solar eclipse, this is going to be the universe's way of eclipsing things into our lives that we need, okay? And again, it's going to be very positively aspected. So it means that the things, the people, the places, the things that we need to move forward, that we need to have, particularly in terms of relationships or security and resources in our lives, are going to be added in by the universe. So you're going to want to pay attention to who shows up, what shows up, where you're at around the time of the eclipse, because these things are going to clue you in to how you can have better relationships, how you can have more security in your life, and it's all going to be orchestrated by the universe. There's nothing you really need to do. It's really just sit and watch and observe what happens, okay? And it's going to be extremely powerful. We had a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus back in November. So think back to that time with respect to what happened, okay? Because that's going to clue you in. It's going to be like, this is like the second chapter of that. So pay attention again to what happens, who shows up, because the weekend is going to be extremely pivotal in terms of moving us forward to where we need to go. All right. So now I want to get into the astrology for the week. All right. Take it day by day and see what we have. All right. So first off, we have on Monday, like I said before, we have the waning crescent moon in Pisces. Okay. This is going to be extremely emotional. If you take a look at the chart in the sign of Pisces, we've got Jupiter, Neptune, Venus, Mars, and the moon. So again, wherever Pisces is in your chart, this week is going to be lit. It's seriously going to be lit. And you're going to really feel it on an emotional level. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, right? This just means that you may be feeling more, you may be extra sensitive. Sleep may be a big thing. Your sleep pattern may either be disturbed, particularly depending on where this falls in your chart, especially with Mars in the mix. For some of you, you may be overly tired, a lot of vivid dreams, intuition is going to be lit, etc. I mean, I went into the Pisces stellium, I believe, in the last 2 astro forecasts. So obviously, if you've been watching those, you know all about this Pisces energy, right? So with the moon in Pisces on Monday, it's not the best day for like any sort of detailed work that requires a lot of mental acuity, because you're really going to be like head in the clouds, very daydreamy, listening to your intuition. This is sort of like the your imagination taking over. So it's not going to be the best day to transact business, although, the business world doesn't really pause for astrological transits. So many of us still have to do some work on Monday, but this is a great transit if you are a creative. So if you are a content creator, if you are an artist, a musician, a poet, in fashion, a dancer, whatever, Monday is a great day to get stuff done in terms of creating content. Okay. So keep that in mind. The only other thing I want to mention about this is that being that it is the waning phase of the moon, this is going to be the time when you're going to I'm like so tongue-tied today. This is going to be the time when you're going to want to get rid of a lot of the emotional gunk you've been holding on to, okay? You're going to want to discard those things. You're going to, perhaps those things are going to come up naturally, and you're going to be overwhelmed. You might feel like escaping reality. Addictive behaviors are really, are highly likely or more probable during a transit like this, particularly with the moon in Pisces. So drug addiction, alcohol, things like that. You may feel more inclined to do these things because your emotions just may be too much, or you're feeling too much. Everything in moderation, obviously, but you're going to want to be at least a little vigilant, because with all this Pisces energy, it really lends itself to scams, schemes, hacking, even all of that kind of stuff. But it's also a great transit for spiritual messages, for meditating, going on a retreat, listening to music, anything involving water, swimming. If you are lucky enough to live by the ocean, Monday is a wonderful day to go to the ocean for spiritual reasons. Cleanse yourself in the salt water, things like that. So we start the week off very ethereally, very fantastical with that moon in Pisces. All right. So next up, we've got Wednesday. Okay. So on Wednesday, we've got Mercury sextile Jupiter, Venus conjunct Neptune, and the moon is in Aries. All right. So you will take a look at, if you look at Pisces, you'll see that Jupiter, that gray number 4 is, I'm sorry. Yes, I am talking about Jupiter. Jupiter is at 27 degrees Pisces. It's going to be sextile to Mercury at 27 degrees Taurus. And then we've got Venus and Neptune both at 24 degrees Pisces. And then we have the moon moving into the sign of Aries. All right. So we've got quite a bit going on Wednesday. Okay. So first up, let's talk about Mercury sextile Jupiter. And this is one of those transits that allows you to get a lot done, particularly in terms of planning for the future, in terms of decision making, because you're going to have a very positive outlook on life. I feel like a lot of us are going to be thinking positively, speaking to ourselves and to others. in a positive manner. This transit also is likely to bring in good news. So it's a sort of feel good kind of day. Communication will be a lot easier. So it's really one of those days where you're going to want to get out and socialize and talk to people. But keep in mind, Mercury sextile Jupiter also has a tendency to over exaggerate or over promise and under deliver. So you're going to want to practice moderation. Don't decide to do things that you know you can't deliver on. All of that kind of stuff. Studying and researching also are really good. Taking exams. If you have to take an exam on Wednesday, you'll find that it'll be a little easier because you're not going to be as stressed. Jupiter is a benefic planet that provides abundance. So you may have abundance of good thoughts. You may have an abundance of knowledge. Again, if you're taking an exam, it's like you'll be able to remember a lot of the things that you'll need for the exam. Just a really good, feel good sort of energy, okay? You can also use this energy to plan a trip, go on a new adventure, research a particular topic that you've always wanted to research. Just a really good overall day. Also good for business, signing contracts, negotiating, all that good stuff, right? Next up, we have Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces, okay? And this is one of those transits that not only feels good, but really has you putting on the rose-colored glasses, particularly when it comes to love. So I just mentioned we have Mercury sextile Jupiter. So communicating is going to be good. It's going to be abundant. It's sort of like you're going to know the right things to say. You're going to have a plethora of things to say. And with Venus conjunct Neptune, this is like idyllic love, finding new romance. So remember, Wednesday is going to be a really good day for socializing, particularly if you're single, if you're looking for someone new. I feel like everyone's just going to be a little more loving, a little more harmonious. You can really, if any sort of relationship started under Venus conjunct Neptune, it's going to have a very spiritual undertone. It gives very like soulmate twin flame kind of a thing if you're into that. But a lot of good positive energy. But here's the thing with relationships and Venus conjunct Neptune. If you're currently in a relationship that's not going well, it's like you're going to miss all the red flags because you're going to have your head in the clouds, rose-colored glasses on, and you're going to overlook the actual harsh realities of your relationship, okay? So I would say if you're in a current relationship and you feel like you're at a point where you have to make a major decision, definitely would not do it on Wednesday because I feel like you're not going to be able to see things for what they are. You're going to see things as you want them to be. You're going to see things in terms of potential. Okay. And so while that may not be, such a bad thing, I get the sense that if you do that later on, those harsh realities that you were overlooking may come back to bite you in the ass. All right. So even though Mercury sextile Jupiter allows for good decision making, it gives you good decision making from your head and not from your heart. So keep that in mind in terms of relationships, okay? This is also going to be a day where you're probably going to feel slightly lazy. This is sort of the stop and smell the roses kind of a thing. You're going to want to relax, indulge in a hobby, also great for creating. So again, creatives, between Monday and Wednesday, you guys have a lot of energy at your disposal to create some really dope shit. So if you are someone who creates for work, if you are a content creator online, you're going to want to use Monday through Wednesday to really make some dope shit, okay? Venus conjunct Neptune is also about being altruistic, philanthropic, and doing charity work. So if you've been looking to implement more of that in your life, or if you're feeling guided to do so at this time, Wednesday is the perfect day for that, okay? Then that same day, we have the moon moving into Aries. And we're still in the waning crescent phase of the moon. So this is all about letting go of the things we don't need, okay? So when the moon is in Aries, we're very much motivated by a desire to achieve something. Our ambition is on overdrive even, right? And so if we're talking about the waning crescent, it's like you're very focused on where you want to go, what you want to achieve, and you're going to have sort of the willpower to get rid of the things that aren't going to take you there. Again, it's about surrender, but it's also about taking stock of what's around you, what you're holding on to, and you're going to want to let go of those things, okay? And that's with the moon in Aries. And if you find that you're, feeling a lot, you're sort of like adrenaline is running, any sort of energy or overload of energy that you have on Wednesday, you're going to want to channel that into some physical activity. So exercise, sex even is going to be really on and popping on Wednesday, because that's going to help you sort of neutralize a lot of the things that you're feeling. Okay. When the moon is in Aries, it's also great to do quick actions that yield immediate results. So any short-term projects, any sort of little things that you can do to tweak your plans or your goals, you're going to want to do them once the moon is in Aries. And again, that's going to be on Wednesday. All right. So that's Wednesday in a nutshell. Let's move on to Thursday. So on Thursday, we have Mercury trine Pluto, and you'll see Mercury is at 28 degrees Taurus and Pluto is at 28 degrees Capricorn. Okay. So we're talking about two earth signs, Taurus and Capricorn. And this is all about stability. This is all about foundation. It's like setting the foundation so you can rise to the top. Okay. It's sort of this upward trajectory in a very tangible and real sort of way. And if we're talking about Mercury and Pluto, this is all about the power of persuasion, particularly in terms of commerce, in terms of business, in terms of work. Like Thursday is going to be the day when you're going to want to make your sales pitches. It's going to be the day when you're going to want to make presentations, negotiate deals, try to close some sales, make some sales. Like Thursday is going to be the optimal day for that sort of productive work. Okay. If you need to ask anyone for a favor, you're going to want to do it on Thursday, because you're going to have that extra charm and power of persuasion. It's almost like people are going to be drawn to you, drawn to your ideas, drawn to the things that you have to say. Okay. So it's a great day, again, for making sales, negotiating contracts, all of that kind of stuff. Researching and investigating, like this is really like getting down to the nitty-gritty and the bottom of things. So if you've been trying to get down to the truth of a situation, you're going to make probably some strides and maybe even have some breakthroughs in terms of that on Thursday. Okay. It's a very powerful sort of transit in terms of your communication and in terms of your mental powers and activities. Okay. But the one thing that you're going to need to remember with this transit is that it can make you very obsessive, or it can make you exhibit a lot of excessive behaviors in terms of your thoughts, in terms of like getting down to the bottom of things. Like perfect example, let's say you suspect your partner of cheating. I feel like Thursday is the day when you're going to be playing super sleuth. And you are just going to be looking at everything, looking through everything, trying to figure out these deep meanings to things that may not necessarily be true. And it may just sort of drive you crazy. You may find that you're exhibiting a lot of excessive, obsessive behavior in terms of trying to get the truth of a situation. So it can, that's sort of the ugly side or the downside of this transit. All right. It's also a good transit if you want to speak to a psychiatrist, a psychologist, get a psychic reading. You might want to do a past life regression, dream recall, telepathy is going to be on and popping, or even sort of some sort of, I told you I'm so tongue-tied today, some sort of remote viewing. Okay. So it's sort of one of those transits where you can really tap into the unseen. You can sort of peek behind the veil. It's very occult and very mystic as well. So it's a very interesting day on Thursday. But what I love about it is that it precedes Pluto going retrograde on Friday. And so this is sort of going to give you a glimpse at the why. And being able to think about and process that. Pluto was all about getting to the bottom of things, right? And so a lot of times when we ask why, when we want to understand things on a deep level, that is governed by Pluto. And with Pluto going retrograde, we're going to understand the why about a lot of things. And with Mercury trine Pluto the day before it goes retrograde, your mind is going to start to get into a position where you're going to be able to understand on a mental level, on a cerebral level, on a sort of logical level, why things are the way that they are, why things have happened the way that they've happened. Okay. Very profound transit. In many different ways. All right. All right, so that is Thursday. So now let's talk about Friday, because Friday, like I said, it's one of the star days of the week. We've got Mercury moving into its home sign of Gemini. And you'll see Mercury at 0 degrees Gemini towards the top right part of your screen. The same day, again, we've got Pluto going retrograde in Capricorn. You'll see that at the very bottom of your screen, and you'll notice that it's at 28 degrees Capricorn, and that number is in red. And whenever you see a number in red on a chart, that signifies that that planet is retrograde, okay? Red, retrograde. Pretty easy, right? Then we have the moon making its way into Taurus, and it'll reach new moon status on Saturday, all right? So let's take this one step at a time. All right. So first up, we've got Mercury moving into Gemini. Gemini is Mercury's home sign. Mercury is super comfortable in Gemini. Think about it. When you're in your own home, right? You're comfortable. You're free to do what you want. You can really be you, right? So Mercury's energy is going to be pretty powerful. And remember what I said before, Mercury was just at the anaretic degree on Thursday. It was at 29 degrees Taurus. So it was already sort of feeling itself. It was already exhibiting that very Mercury-like energy. And when it moves into Gemini, it's going to be, completely comfortable and super potent. So this is all about mental pursuits, curiosity, communication, facts, knowledge, ideas. And Mercury is going to be in Gemini for quite a while because Mercury is actually about to go retrograde next month. So it's going to be in Gemini for a couple of weeks. And this is the time when you're going to feel like your brain actually works. Things make sense. Communication really becomes a thing. Mercury is busybody energy. It's very social. It's very active. It symbolizes the nervous system in your body, right? And so your nervous system can usually be firing on all cylinders, right? And very quickly. And that's sort of a characteristic of Mercury energy. And so that's how we're going to be over the next couple of weeks. A lot of communication, a lot of ideas, a lot of moving around, trying to find things out, learning new facts, gaining knowledge, sharing knowledge. Being curious and actually satisfying that curiosity, okay? The one thing you'll have to remember with Mercury in Gemini, though, is that you're going to want to write things down because I find that anytime Mercury is transiting its home signs of Gemini or Virgo, a lot of thoughts, but if you don't write them down, like they're fleeting thoughts. Like you'll think of it 1 minute and then the next minute, like you forget. Okay. So you're going to want to memorialize things, write them down. Speaking of writing, Mercury in Gemini is excellent for writing. So if you are a writer, reading, studying, research, all of those things thrive when Mercury is in Gemini. Now, the one interesting thing about Mercury in Gemini that I don't usually hear a lot of astrologers talk about is the trickster spirit of Mercury, okay? So Mercury is symbolic of the god Hermes, right? And Hermes was the messenger of the gods. One god would have something to say to another, and Mercury would be the one to deliver the message. But sometimes Mercury would be a little bit of a dick, and Mercury would twist the message or instigate a fight or something. So Mercury has this sort of trickster element to it. And so in Gemini, that trickster element really sort of ramps up. So if you find that your mind is playing tricks on you, you may also hear things that aren't necessarily what was said. You have to sort of be cognizant of what's going on because a lot can be going on around you. And when a lot is going on, you either get distracted or you don't necessarily know everything, right? A lot of things can sort of slip through the cracks and pass you by. So the next couple of weeks, you're going to want to be aware, even though your mind may be firing on all cylinders or like running at a mile a minute. Take your time with things because this is when you're prone to making mistakes, over speaking, overstating, misstating, and stuff like that. Okay, so you're going to want to be cognizant of those things. All right, that's Mercury in Gemini. And then we've got Pluto retrograde, which I talked about a little bit before. Again, this is not something that we're going to feel on a very personal level. I feel like this is something that's going to be society-wide. So you're going to see a lot of changes in terms of structures, in terms of society, in terms of why people do the things that they do. Pluto is known as a generational planet. So it affects us in generations, right? So you're going to see changes between boomers, between Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, all of that kind of stuff. You're going to see it play out more on that level than anything else. But at the same time, because Pluto is a very intense planet in terms of transformation, in terms of our subconscious, you may be experiencing a lot of internal shifts. But again, it's going to be so subtle that it's not going to be something that's really going to be at the forefront of your thoughts. But overwhelmingly, I feel that Pluto retrograde is things coming back to life, okay? But again, because there's going to be a lot of positive aspects around this Pluto retrograde, I think we can expect good things to come back around. Things that may have been quote unquote dead in the past are going to be reborn, are going to be revived in perhaps an even better way. And we're going to be able to understand why. This is sort of understanding why things had to happen the way that they did. You know, they say everything happens for a reason, right? I feel like you're going to understand the reason why things played out the way that they did in the past. Okay. This is also going to give you the opportunity to reflect on issues of power and control. Pluto is all about empowerment, right? But it shows you where things are out of whack in terms of power. Are you powerful? Are you too powerful? Or are you powerless and you just give away all of your power to others? Do you control people with an iron fist, or do you allow people to walk all over you? Pluto retrograde is really going to get you to think about these things on a very internal level and allow you the opportunity to change these things, in turn giving you a personal transformation where you're more empowered, okay? So it's really a time that you could really change your life if you put it to good use. Like I said, Pluto goes retrograde every year for 6 months. So since the dawn of time, this has been happening. So many of us have lived our lives not even knowing what Pluto was, what effect Pluto had on us, and definitely not when Pluto was retrograde. So you've sort of been doing this in a natural way your entire life. But now that you're cognizant of it, you can really use this energy to your advantage to really make some changes from the inside out, okay? This is one of those retrogrades where you're able to get rid of bad habits, obsessive behaviors, anything that's stopping you from living your best life, you can change with Pluto retrograde, which I think is like amazing, right? Plenty of positive aspects, including Venus sextile Pluto. We've got Mercury trine Pluto, like I spoke about before. And then next week, we have Jupiter sextile Pluto. So sextiles are all about opportunity. So again, we've been doing this internal transformation. We've been dying to be reborn our entire lives, right? But now that you're aware of it, you have the opportunity to harness this energy and really make it work for you. Okay. And again, this is going on from the 29th, which is going to be on Friday, until October 8th. So you've got 6 months to really get your shit together, get rid of the habits that don't serve you, and really transform again from the inside out. So very powerful stuff. All right. And then we have the moon making its way into Taurus on Friday. And this is going to be sort of shedding skin. Not literally, although it could be literally. And, you know, when you exfoliate, you know, you have this beautiful, new, shiny, soft skin, right? You can sort of do that in an emotional sense as well. So this is going to be getting rid of emotions that you've been comfortable with, that you've been wearing like skin, okay? So things that have been bringing you comfort, things that have made you feel secure, like emotional security blankets, you might want to get rid of those, okay? Because it's only going to leave room for you to have things that you really want. And with the new moon solar eclipse happening the very next day, whatever you're getting rid of, you can immediately plant new seeds to have, okay? So it's sort of about stepping out of your comfort zone. And on Friday, the moon is going to be in the balsamic phase. That is that phase where the moon is completely dark. And that is when people do banishing work. That's when people do, you know, fucked up witchcraft also, because you're not going to be able to see it. But this is the time when you, for real, banish those things that you no longer need, okay? This is where you're going to want to step out of your comfort zone, because you're going to immediately have the opportunity, or let me say the universe is going to provide the opportunity for you immediately at this, almost simultaneously, for you to have something new, to replace what you're shedding with something brand spanking new, okay? So Moon in Taurus is all about comfort. It's all about security. It's all about peace. And this is what we're motivated to have, okay? And it's sort of a paradox, right? Because it's the waning phase of the moon, and you're supposed to step out of your comfort zone and shed the things that you no longer need, that you've been comfortable with, right? But at the same time, your emotions desire comfort. They desire for you to hold on to things as an emotional blanket, security blanket, emotional security blanket, right? So you're being, if you feel like untethered, if you feel like you're being pulled in two different directions, that's definitely an accurate representation, because we're being asked to shed something, but our emotions want us to hold on to it, okay? So it's going to be, a lot of us may feel like stubborn, like we don't want to let things go, sort of that hoarding energy where you just want to hold on to everything because you may be scared of relinquishing. You may be scared of letting go of things that you've been comfortable with, but you're being urged to do so because with the solar eclipse the very next day, like the universe, if you don't rip off the band-aid, the universe will sure enough do it for you. So do it yourself so you could sort of, rip it off a little slowly, because I swear the universe is going to snatch your edges if you don't let go of it. All right. That's sort of the volatility of eclipses. Like shit can really just be snatched from you. But the good thing about this eclipse is that it's going to be bringing a lot of positivity your way. Okay. So let's move into Saturday and talk about that, because obviously the eclipse is what's going on. Okay. All right, so you'll notice in the sign of Taurus, we have the sun and the moon conjunct at 10 degrees. All right. And then in the sign of Pisces, we have Venus and Jupiter conjunct at the 27th degree. All right. So if you notice, we have this cluster of planets in Taurus and this cluster of planets in Pisces. Now, Taurus and Pisces as signs are sextile to each other, meaning that they have this harmonious aspect where they provide each other an opportunity to do things, okay? And we're talking about Taurus, we're talking about security, we're talking about comfort, we're talking about peace. We're talking about Pisces, we're talking about emotional well-being. So if you allow yourself to do the emotional work, that can directly affect your physical life. You can have emotional well-being and material security if you use these energies to your advantage. Like the energies are there at your disposal, but if you don't make use of them, then you're not necessarily going to enjoy these things, okay? And so with the new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, this is actually the second new moon in the month, because I believe it was April 1st, we had the new moon in Aries, and we're ending the month with a new moon solar eclipse. So if you listen to my Aries monthly astro forecast that I did a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how April is just like, it's like holy shift, right? Like so much energy is shifting. There's a lot going on. Like retrograde season starts. We've got an eclipse, 2 new moons in 1 month. Like it's one of those really pivotal months. And so now, before the eclipse, you may want to take a little time to sort of reflect on what the month has brought you, particularly emotionally, because we had all of this Pisces energy. We had this drive to succeed and achieve things with the sun in Aries. And now that the sun is in Taurus, we're trying to stabilize and secure ourselves. So take a look back at the month, what it looked like and what it felt like, more importantly, for you, because that's going to really clue you in as to how the rest of the year is sort of going to unfold. But again, let's talk about the eclipse. So it's happening at 10 degrees Taurus. It's going to be conjunct to Uranus. Uranus is also in Taurus, okay? So expect the unexpected. And a lot of times Uranus is in the mix in terms of full moons or new moons. I've noticed over the last at least 2 years, Uranus has always played a somewhat significant role in our lunar cycles, okay? But I feel like this particular one is all about expecting the unexpected in a positive way, okay? There's a lot of positive energy going on this week. whatever's eclipsed into our lives, I think is going to be to our advantage. It's going to feel good. It may be a little jarring, right? Because it may come in very suddenly. Depending on the type of person that you are, you may not be someone who likes surprises at all, whether they're good or bad. And so if something good sort of surprises you, it may sort of unsettle you a bit. So that's the way I see this eclipse happening. I don't necessarily seeing it like, I'm not telling you to brace yourselves for the worst. I'm actually saying be receptive to good things happening because good things are going to be added to our lives. So there's going to be an emphasis on self-worth, material possessions, our physical environment, and it's also going to realign us with our fate and where we are supposed to be going. So it's not that the universe just moves things around for shit and giggles, right? It's really about aligning us to where we need to go and putting the people, places, and things in our lives to get us there. That's exactly what this eclipse is going to be about. Like things are going to be rapidly eclipsed in almost out of nowhere, okay? Again, I want you to think back to November of last year. That's when we had the lunar eclipse in Taurus. And this is sort of the second chapter of that unfolding. So take some time to reflect on November of last year and what was going on, particularly mid-month, because that's going to, you're going to expect more of that or a different angle with respect to that with this solar eclipse in Taurus, all right? Jupiter, Neptune, and Venus are all going to be conjunct in Pisces that same day. So it's a lot of emotions, but I feel it's almost like happy tears in a sense. I feel like some of you may feel a sense of relief. Some of you may feel overwhelming joy. Some of you may be like, oh, finally, I'm getting what I need. Finally, I have this missing piece so I can move forward. It's going to feel good, but overly emotional, okay? I cannot stress that enough with this Pisces stellium. Overly emotional, but in a good way. It's beautiful new things, being able to create new things. It's almost like the eclipse is going to, let's say you're a painter, right? I feel like this week and the eclipse in particular is going to give you that feeling of wanting to create something new. And the eclipse is going to give you a whole new set of paint brushes and paint with which to work. That's sort of how this eclipse works because it's in Taurus, and Taurus actually governs material things. So you may get the physical money, the physical resources you need to move forward. It's going to be very real and tangible, and it's going to be in line with our emotional self, our emotional bodies. So again, this overwhelming sense of joy, this overwhelming sense of happiness of being able to create something new and move forward. It's a beautiful eclipse, okay? Again, maybe a bit jarring. Expect the unexpected. I feel like some of you, this is one of those eclipses where you could low-key win the lotto. This is one of those eclipses where you can low-key get a windfall of money. And again, there's no ritual that you have to do. This is the universe is giving this to you in order to get you to where you need to go, okay? So stay receptive. Because if you resist any of this, it's almost like you're missing your chance. You're missing your opportunity for this beautiful new beginning to create something new. So keep your eyes open, okay? And be receptive. That same day, we have Venus conjunct Jupiter. This is love, money, happiness, and harmony. Like, you couldn't ask for a better set of transits surrounding this eclipse. Like, it's just going to be windfalls of money. If you get some sort of financial opportunity, you're going to want to take it. That's why I said you have to be receptive, because it's going to require you to sort of open up and receive whatever the universe is giving you, which could be by way of money, which could be by way of spiritual advancing, okay? This could be someone coming in to help you on your spiritual journey, someone who's able to help you understand what's going on in your spiritual journey. Like, when I say this is lit, okay? And good luck coming out of nowhere. Again, unexpected windfalls of money, winning the lotto, things like that are all possible with this eclipse, okay? So if you feel like, the next couple of days, you're like, y'all, I don't know, but I feel like maybe I should play the lotto. If you have that intuition, and your intuition is going to be loud as hell, okay? If you have that intuition, follow it, because that's the universe giving you the breadcrumbs to something big, beautiful, wonderful, harmonious, and lucky, okay? So that's what we got on Saturday. And then finally, we close out the week on Sunday with Venus sextile Pluto. So we've got Venus at 28 degrees Pisces and it's sextile to Pluto at 28 degrees Capricorn, okay? Sextiles are all about opportunity. This is about increasing your love on a more intimate level. This is about, I feel like a lot of us are going to be focused on companionship, on that sort of idyllic relationship that we all want. And you're going to be thinking about why you want this. What in your heart is making you desire this, okay? Again, focus on companionship. This is a new romance that could change your life, okay? I feel like the weekend is just full of this sort of fantastical energy that really has the opportunity to really put you on a completely new path, okay? In terms of relationships, you're looking for something substantial, something deep, something that, where you're tied spiritually to someone. This isn't about a fling or a superficial relationship. It's something very deep and substantial. It doesn't necessarily talk about commitment, though. The thing with Pluto is like Pluto gets you to think deep on the subconscious, but if you're looking for commitment, you would want a positive aspect between Venus and Saturn. Venus and Saturn makes a relationship that lasts, okay? But Venus and Pluto in a harmonious aspect is really about getting in a relationship that's deep, okay? If you're in an existing relationship, this could take your relationship to a whole nother level, especially in terms of intimacy and sex. If you're single, this may be one of those transits that makes you very much obsessed with someone. So if you are pining away after someone, if you have your eye on someone, I feel like Venus sextile Pluto is going to really get you to be a little bit obsessive about this person. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you don't want to be doing some psycho shit or stalking someone, because stalking is definitely one of those things that's characteristic of this transit. But just be mindful of how you approach this person, how you research this person. Nobody likes a creep or a stalker, okay? So just be mindful of those kind of things. And also what's interesting about Venus sextile Pluto, this is the transit of affairs and secret romances, okay? So some of you may find that you're in an entanglement right now. No judgment. Maybe you are with someone where it may be viewed as a little taboo. Maybe this person is married. Maybe this person is with someone. They live with someone and you start a secret affair. Like, that's all possible under this transit. So again, be mindful of what you do and what you get yourself involved in. All right. And then this is also about uncovering true feelings. So if you've been dealing with someone, whether you've been dating them or if you're in an existing relationship, this is about getting to the heart of how this person really feels about you, how they really feel about the relationship. All of that good stuff can be uncovered with this particular transit. All right. So that is the week in a nutshell. And let me tell you, like, this is just, seriously, a week to remember, okay? And you're going to want to remember it because there's going to be a lot going on. New beginnings, internal transformation, positivity, and it's all going to be wrapped up in this sort of emotionally charged environment, this emotional blanket, okay? So if you find yourself overly emotional this week, allow yourself to process your emotions, allow yourself to feel the emotions, because good things are coming. And I get the sense by the time that this eclipse energy sort of starts to wind down, a lot of us are going to be in a position where we're feeling very grateful, we're feeling purposeful, and we're feeling like we're finally on track to where we need to go. All right, so that has been the weekly astro forecast. I sincerely hope that you were able to get some valuable information from everything I've been talking about for this last hour. If you'd like to order an astrology report from me, I do natal chart reports, lunar returns, solar returns. Check out my website. Link is in the description box below. I've got a ton of astrology charts that I can read and decipher for you. So check that out if you're interested. Thank you so much for rocking with me. I know you could be doing anything on a Sunday afternoon, and your presence here is always greatly appreciated. And so I thank you. All right. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next week. All right. Take care.